Good morning, Stampers. This once again, I'm making another quilted card, and there is a card on the internet that is this Ohio Star quilt pattern, and they've made it with a 1-inch square punch by cutting 1-inch squares, and you cut them in half, and you piece them this way and piece them that way to make it come out to be this design. Well, I didn't like all that cutting, so I just made a template that I printed out and temporarily pasted to the back of my designer paper that cuts this shape right here, this diagonal diamond looking shape. And what I did was I printed it out in a little grid like this. And if you're going to use just one sheet of paper and have one as the front and one color as the back, you just need one little grid. If you're going to do two separate pieces of paper, you're going to need two grids, one with the slashes going one way and one with the slashes going the opposite of that, or your design will not come out right. Both of these little templates are on my blog. You can print them out and use them. What I did was take some dado and put on the back of the grid, and now I'm just going to take the grid and I'm going to mount it to the back of the piece of designer paper I want to use, because just in case a little bit of the sticky residue stays on there, it'll be on the back and not sticking on the front, and I won't have to clean it off. So I'm just going to line this up evenly with the edges of my paper. This is the Poetry Pack, Print Poetry Designer Series paper pack that has the 4.5 by 6.5 inch sheets of paper in it. So I've made, that's what my grid is. It's enough. If you were to cut it out of a big sheet of paper, you would just cut a 6-inch strip and use that, because it is this is 4.5 by 6. So I've got my temporary adhesive on there, and now I'm just going to cut a strip, starting with my nice clean edge, which is the paper's natural edge, and I'm going to cut it. These are 1/2-inch squares, so I'm going to cut off 1-inch strip. You can do it with your scissors, you can do it with your paper trimmer. You can go back then and cut it on your green slashes or the red slashes, and you can use the paper trimmer for that, but I have found that it's just as easy for me to use my scissors. So if you use a regular big scissor to cut with, you can just hold it very still and just cut from, really what you're cutting across is just on the grid itself, but I put the green lines there just so my students could follow it easier and not have to stop and ask me a question. So just cut them across on the lines. And this is going to be embossed after it's glued down, so it's really not, you know, oh my gosh, it's not right on the line, or I got just a little off on that one. It's probably not even going to show, because once it's embossed, that kind of takes care of those little edges. Okay, so there are my, you have to have 4 of each color. Here's my flower side, and here's my blue side. And what I did is, you can just use your Stampin' Up! Grid paper and just start in the center and go out from there, but I didn't want to do that on this particular, I didn't want to get out a sheet of grid paper for that. So I just have a piece of 5-inch square paper, and I've just folded it so I'll know right where the center is. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on my little don't stick to me paper pad, and I'm going to cover it with a repositional glue stick glue. This is Scotch repositional craft stick from the local scrapbook store. Okay, and you're just going to peel then off your little strips of paper off the back. And you're going to have a flower one, or you're going to have 2 separate designs. And you start with it sticking up. I'll lay the card here so you can kind of see. You're going to start with the top with the 2 pieces right on the line. Can't get my sticky paper off the back. Okay. And so your little design goes like, I'm going to show it to you the right side up. It goes like this. So this will be right on the line, and I'll just start at the top up here, and I'm going to put one right on the line with a tip right in the center, and then just butt this up right next to it, like so. And I have found that if I work my way around, it won't come out even. So what I do, instead of just working around in a circle with the next one, I go to the mirror side of it. Must have too much dado on that piece of paper. And then take the contrasting piece, and I'm just going to do the mirror side going this, let's see, well, it'll be like this way. It's like a puzzle. So this will go here. Takes 4 of each of these little pieces to go around, 4 of each color, 8 pieces total. And then you have that. So then all we have to do is fill in the other mirror side, and hopefully it will come out just perfect. If not, it is paper crafting, and if everything was perfect, it wouldn't be homemade. And then this one just goes right on the line, right into the center, and it should butt up next to that other one just perfectly, and it does. It matches great. I'm afraid if I did a bunch of those little triangles using the 1-inch punch, I don't think I would be able to get them all lined up and even like this. And this is so much quicker just to print out your little grid sheet and just use it. Okay, this will go on this side, right on the line, right up to the, right up next to the other one. Don't want to get out of the camera view there, get down closer. And last one here. It doesn't probably take as much dado as I put on there this time, but I was trying to make it stay on so that I could show you. And this just goes right in there. Oh, look, it just all fits perfectly together. Now, you're going to need a 1 3/8 inch square for each corner, and that's just going to fit right in there. Like that. And like that. If you don't use the Stampin' Up! 1 3/8 inch square, it will not be quite the right size, because a couple of the other punches I have seen, they're not quite 1 3/8, they're just a little bit more than that. So it's, you know, Stampin' Up! Stuff is pretty accurate. Okay, and then you're going to take your 1 inch square, and you are going to punch out some 2 pieces for your other corners. And this is what you would be doing if you did all the pieces this way. You'd be cutting all these little squares in half. But I'm just going to use, and that goes right here. And here. And then cut this one. And it goes, and, oh, excuse me, right in here. I should have used a contrasting piece of background paper so you could see how those fit. And one there. Okay. And you can press all that down, but since we're going to emboss it, it's pretty much going to be squished together for life once you do that. Then you can take your paper trimmer and just trim off this. I'm going to use the scissors because I don't want to get sticky on that paper trimmer. I just cleaned it. So let's just trim that off right even with our paper. As paper crafters, we should be pretty good with our scissors, not to always need a paper trimmer. Okay, so there, oh, this little guy looks like he's just a little bit off center. Let's fix that. That's what the great repositional glue stick is great for. Just to get that right. There. Okay. Now, let's trim that again so we make sure we get off that little paper. Alright? So then you end up with this. Once it's embossed, then I matted it onto, this is Midnight Muse paper. I matted it onto a, the card turns out to be square. You can make them a portrait, but you would have to make this, it'd be pretty tight with not very much margin around it. But the center design part then is mounted on a 4x4 square, and then that is mounted here on a piece of craft or crumb cake that has been scored and torn around the edges to about 5 inches, and then the card itself is just under 5.5. It's like 5 3/8. I did that just so it fits into a 5.5-inch envelope. It has a antique brad in the middle, and I used the punch with the new paper piercing pack essentials that has the ones that go with all the older punches, and the Midnight Muse ribbon. And it's on a square card, and that's our project for today. Enjoy!